Venezuela's President Maduro it claims that the U.S. is seeking a regime change with this naval buildup. Former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf joining me now. Are we really looking for regime change, Chad? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I don't believe we are, and I don't think President Trump cares what Maduro says or doesn't say. This is about fighting the cartels. This is about fighting drug trafficking that continues to be exported out of Venezuela and into the United States. And President Trump has made it very clear time and time again, not only with Venezuela, but with other countries in the region, that that is no longer going to be the case. And he's going to take direct action, if needed, to stop the deadly flow of fentanyl and other drugs into the United States, killing Americans every day. We've seen other administrations talk about this. We've seen other administrations continue to admire this problem. I think President Trump should take a lot of credit and should get a lot of credit for actually trying to do something to stop what we see as deadly narcotics coming in.
But what kind of military action? This naval force is very powerful. They've got they've got a destroyer there. They've got missile systems. I mean, are they going to fire off against the cartels in Mexico or some other place?
Well, look, that's obviously up to President Trump and his national security team. But I do know that there are Coast Guard men and women on board of that, has law enforcement functions that can board vessels. And a lot of the vessels coming up from South America, Venezuela, and elsewhere are carrying those narcotics coming through the Caribbean to the United States. And there's obviously others. As the designation of a foreign terrorist organization, there's other authorities that the president now has to deal with, again, not only Venezuela, but other countries in the region that are continuing to export cartel violence and other drugs to the United States.
Would you mind if there were a regime change in Venezuela?
Well, I don't think anyone would mind that. Again, Maduro is not a legitimate ruler. I think that President Trump and his team has been very clear about that. I think it's a repressive society. The people of Venezuela are suffering under Maduro, so I don't know that anyone's going to shed a tear if there does happen to be regime change and the people of Venezuela rise up and say, look, we've had enough. We want a new direction for our country.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he's heading to Mexico and Ecuador. He's talking about security in the region. This is about efforts to dismantle the cartels, halt fentanyl trafficking, stop illegal immigration. What kind of pressure is Rubio putting on those governments?
Well, look, it's probably an intense amount of pressure. A lot of this is done behind the scenes that never actually, makes it out into the news. It's what more can they do, both there in Mexico, there in Ecuador, which is a sort of a transient place as individuals come up from South America. What more can they do to stop that deadly flow of individuals and illegal narcotics coming into the U.S.? What more security do they need from the United States? What more resources do they need from the United States? So I think it's going to be a dual track conversation, meaning what more can they individually do and what more can they do with more resources from the United States.
Earlier this morning, a federal judge ruled that California can't, the administration illegally deployed the National Guard and the Marines to Los Angeles. Does that effectively now stop deportations out of L.A.?
Well, I don't think it does. Again, this is likely going to be appealed by the Trump administration, as most things are. Again, those troops were there to make sure to support federal law enforcement, ICE specifically, that were carrying out immigration enforcement procedures there. So I think the Trump administration is on pretty stable grounds here as this continues to be appealed. But look, ICE will still go into places like Los Angeles and other sanctuary havens to make sure that they are removing dangerous individuals. They're just going to have to do that in a safe way. So while this really makes it a little bit more difficult until it's appealed, it is on a stay at the moment, so they're able to continue some limited operations.
Got it, Chad Wolf. Thanks for joining us, Chad. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.